Me too. And great. YouTube just is lightning fast. I press that button and it's like, I got you, bro.
Oh yeah, you think it was
Yeah.
even faster than going live on Facebook? Because we are live,
Yeah, I know. We are live. It's pretty crazy, man. We're also live on YouTube as well.
which is
Not
great.
just Facebook. Not
Right.
just Facebook, you know?
Not just it, but still
Hmm.
it.
Yes.
And look, one of us is a fan of one, the other is a fan of another.
Hmm.
I love them both. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Both is
Big
good.
social. Yeah. I mean, God's good, and so are the live streaming options.
Yeah.
Oh man, but we are glad to be live.
Hmm. Straight live.
Straight 11. And actually, let me hit record here because I'm getting used to new services,
Hmm.
which is exciting.
They're like,
What'd you say?
gives you a little countdown. Nice.
It do. It gives you a little 5-second countdown.
I like
Here's
it.
the thing. Denison and I are expanding the services that we're using because some of the services that we've been forced to use have been forcing us to try and pay for them, and they're not worth it,
Hmm.
um,
Exactly.
which is unfortunate. This, what we're using right now, if you guys end up listening to the audio versions, the audio quality will actually be better,
Yep.
and it's free. I
Hmm.
mean, come on, it's kind of
Free
bizarre, right?
99. Hmm.
$3.99, dude. $3.99, actually. Yeah,
Free 99.
yeah. You're right. You're right. That's a good point. But it is. It's weird that that is an issue. But thankfully, we have again these other options. So I'm very very thankful for that. And yeah, we'll be good to go, which is great. And so we obviously are going live a little early this week.
Hmm.
Why is that, you might ask? Well, I have a simple answer for you. Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yep. So of course this week is special, and family time spent together and all that kind of stuff. But it is Thursday, which is Thanksgiving, and that is usually when we do our live stream. And so we are knocking out the live stream early.
Hmm. We sure
Um,
are.
yep, we actually would have done it tomorrow if I didn't have a gig, but I got a gig going, so we'll be doing that. And then we'll have the audio come out at the regular time. But man, we do have quite an interesting topic this week.
We sure
And
do.
yeah, and it is well, and there are a few of them, a few big headlines for us to touch on.
Hmm.
Uh, so this will be a good one. And the first of them, actually, why don't I just label them real quick off the top, right?
Do it up.
And I just want to say, I'm thankful that we have so much good stuff to talk about. Number one, we're talking about the OpenAI Shakeup, is how we're titling this,
Yes.
because the guy who founded OpenAI, um, and led to where we're at with ChatGPT and things like that,
Hmm.
he ended up getting forced out by their new board of directors. Now, for those who don't fully know how this stuff works, I think most of you probably do, but board of directors are often um, people who are from other organizations,
Hmm.
and that's what this is. That's what's led to him getting voted out. If I'm not mistaken, right, he is at Microsoft. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the board members does work at Microsoft.
Yes, that is true too, isn't it? Which is
Hmm.
very bizarre about this story as well. But and I don't think it's officially official yet, but I do think that Microsoft is the main option for where he would go. What's
Yeah.
been even more interesting about that is last I saw, which was just 2 days ago, over 500 of the 700 staff at OpenAI have said they're going to leave
Yep.
and have all said that they would go to Microsoft. Um, this will actually bring up a part of this story that I kind of have a weird um, thought about, because
Mm-hmm.
it seems very oddly manipulative. But we'll dive into that for sure. Number two, the second topic we're going to talk about is Meta's mind reading AI, and them working with the University of Texas, right,
Mm-hmm.
on this technology to help. I mean, really, what the goal of a lot of this is right now is to help people who have some sort of mental issue, if you will, right?
Yep.
Whether it was something genetic or something that they incurred through some part of their life, right?
Yep.
Um, and it's interesting how the services involve basically ChatGPT, but ChatGPT one
Yep. Exactly.
stuff,
An earlier version of ChatGPT.
right? Stuff that us consumers have never used because the first version of ChatGPT that came out was three, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, 3.5 technically is what ChatGPT was utilizing.
Yes. 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 So what that means, it's three, but they added some interaction stuff to make it more usable for the average person, right?
Correct.
Um, yeah. And so that will be an interesting one for us to dive into. Also, Apple's RCS revolution, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal of this, is for it to interact with Android phones more easily, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Some people are calling it the green bubble killer.
The
Almost.
green bubble killer, you say.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's the main thing, is to make it all blue messages, right?
I mean, it's sure in the easiest way, yeah, we could say something like that. It's a little bit more complicated, and we will go into that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what does that mean? What does that look like? We have a lot to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to slam into it, man. So let's go ahead and start rolling. All right, here we go. Three, two, one. What's going on, everybody? I'm John,
And I'm Dennison.
and this is the Catchup. I just want to tease real quick, too, that we are on the cusp of having a new theme, finally.
Mm-hmm. We sure
Um,
are.
yes, and it's very exciting. It's something that I have been working on, not of my own creation, but with the guy that we've worked with for this. He's
Mm-hmm.
very good. He's been kind of MIA for a little while, but he's had other things going on, which is totally fine. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll have an extended version. We'll have a tight version. Um, and it's going to be really sick. So we can't wait for you guys to check that out. But we want you, otherwise, to check out the three best ways to support this show. Number one, there it is. There's an example of what a one looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, number one, leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening or watching. Those options are always available. Sometimes it's as simple as hitting the like button on the video when you watch the live stream, or subscribing, right? And then other times you listen to the audio version and you leave a rating and review. It very much is quick. It's very effective. It helps us a lot to grow. Um, it helps us to be in front of new audience, and then lets us know what we're doing well and what, if anything, we can improve on. So
Exactly.
super helpful. Number two, there's a number two.
Old
Jump on
school.
the just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, jump on the live stream with us. We go live except for this week because of the holiday. We go
Mm-hmm.
live every Thursday on Facebook and on YouTube. You get to jump in with us in real time, make your voice heard, let us know what you think about the topics that we're discussing in real time. And is our favorite part of the show, to be honest, is to get your
Oh yeah.
thoughts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and hear what you have going on. And number three, there it is. If you want to support, oh, there's a three. Thank God, dude. Well, I will say if that was an Apple iPhone, then it'd probably interact a lot better with the new RCS revolution. I
I mean,
digress.
maybe, man, maybe. Nice
There you
big
go.
three. There you
Wow, look at
go.
that fold. I'm just over here flexing, man.
There we go.
Unfolding right there. Well, number three, if you want to support us monetarily, we have a whole store that is linked wherever you're listening and wherever you're watching with merch and apparel. And we have new merch on there too that we really think you'll like,
Oh,
genuinely.
I'm gonna.
Whoa, what just happened? There we go. That's the one I expected. Yeah. Yeah. So um I got weird for a second. Uh but no, honestly, with all sincerity, there are a lot of new options for you guys to check out, and we really think that you would like them. So all of that are three best ways to support this show. And with that said, let's dive into this topic, man. Topics. Yeah. Man, old me just gets so hyped for the new us, dude. You know?
I know, man. I know.
I
He's
love it.
he's he's feeling it.
Denison is playing with a soundboard in case you were wondering what that is. Um, but yeah, so with that said, let's talk about the OpenAI shakeup first. And again, oh my Atlanta, dude. Thing's
Just trying to
getting
get
hot.
everybody hyped about these topics, man. They're pretty dope.
I hope they're half as hyped as we're getting, man.
I
I
know, man.
really,
I
I
know.
mean, even a half of it. So with that, with that said, yeah, these OpenAI changes are interesting because this board of directors voted the bro out, right? Which what's his
Mm-hmm.
name? Remind me his name.
Sam Altman.
Yes.
Sam Altman. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he gets voted out, but he started started OpenAI.
Yeah, he was
Uh,
a co-founder of OpenAI. Yes.
yeah. And so, obviously it's grown a lot since then, especially just in the last calendar year with the explosion of ChatGPT being a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then, going from there. Got a comment going, by the way. What's up, Darren?
Mm-hmm.
How are things going? Going well, man. It's good to hear from you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, thank you for jumping in the comments. Sorry, we're just getting back to you too. But yeah, so with that said as well, the tech, has exploded and all that kind of stuff. And as
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about for several weeks, Microsoft, well, we've talked about this, just the foundation part for a long time, which is that Microsoft owns a large part of OpenAI, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
not
Well, I mean, they don't technically own them, but they
gotcha.
have invested. They are investing, guess I should say. I think it's like $4 billion into OpenAI. I think it's over. It's supposed the investment is supposed to be over a few years or whatever like that. But yes, so in some ways they do have an ownership stake in there, just because of the sizable investment that they put in there.
Sure.
Um, a lot of it is just for a lot of the investment is there for technology sharing and stuff like that, as we've already seen with a lot of open ais and um, Microsoft's Copilot, and how those both kind of mirror each other.
Mhm.
OpenAI's ChatGPT and Microsoft's Copilot. So yeah,
Yeah, and a lot of software and technology shared between them, like you were saying.
correct.
And and so for this to be an interesting situation where for some reason the board of directors decides to make him no longer be able to lead ChatGPT.
Mhm.
Then next, or I'm sorry, OpenAI. But then you hear, oh well, now he's going to be over at Microsoft, which would be working on Copilot and those type of things. If I remember right, that still hasn't been fully settled yet. That's not affirmed yet.
So technically, at least according to an article from the Washington Post, essentially the way that it went down is, of course, we had it on Friday where they fired Sam with their concerns of saying that he was not being fully candid to the board about everything that was going on.
Right.
Um, and then, on Sunday, they had talks on trying to get him to return back to back to OpenAI, but apparently those fell through. I think, one of the things that Sam put in there as saying, like, "I'll come back if of course, add him or gosh darn, reinstate him as the CEO, and he also wanted all of the board members to um essentially leave,
Sure.
all of the board members to resign, um and then he'll come back and he'll be good. Some of the board members were okay with that, some of them weren't, and so essentially the deal collapsed. um, and then, according to this, it says, a few hours later, Microsoft hired, um, Sam to lead their AI research division of
Yeah.
Microsoft.
Yeah. Which is interesting because also OpenAI has named three CEOs in 3 days
Correct.
since he's left. That's
Correct.
how much people don't want to be with that. And that's what we found too is over 500 people within OpenAI of the 700 total staff signed a letter that they would leave and they would also go to Microsoft, right?
Correct. Correct. To be a part of the new division that Microsoft has created, that Sam is going to be in charge of.
Yeah, and he has been hired by them and officially started like we were saying. But what do you think, what does this mean? Why what was the push for this as far
The-
as him being over at Microsoft now?
mhm,
Why was that pushed for so hard and why is that a thing that's happened? Because it seems I say it because of this.
mhm.
And especially when it's AI and when it's consumer AI, um, you want it to be effective, but of course you want it to be safe.
Yep.
Uh, this does seem kind of weird alt that he got fired, but now he's over at Microsoft and 500 staff want to join him there. It almost seems like it's just a normal plan, but they went through
Mhm.
a dark way to make it happen. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I
So
mean,
what?
I can or go ahead.
No, I just want to know what you think.
No, I mean, I can see that. I can see that, and I wouldn't be too surprised if, some documentary comes out years later saying that there was internal documents of something similar to like this happening within Microsoft and stuff. I mean, it would be a great play for them, but um I think the way that it really played out is the board um didn't like him. Didn't like I don't think it may not have been exactly a reflection of his leadership style or like what it was actually going because honestly, Sam did lead the company to become as big as essentially become as big as it is. Um sorry. Um but yeah, no, it did receive that um gosh darn, so sorry. I'm trying to fix something going on with
You good?
our YouTube side. Um
Oh, gotcha.
but essentially Sam did he did a lot. He did a lot to get OpenAI to where it is right now.
Mhm.
And so it's one of those things that's a little surprising. But anyway, I think they ousted him because they had something that they didn't like. Um, they didn't understand the type of backlash that they were going to get. Um, and so when they tried to backpedal, it kind of blew up in their face. And then Microsoft, who already had a pretty big relationship with Sam Altman, as well as OpenAI in general, the team at OpenAI,
Right. Yeah.
um, Microsoft was easily able to kind of swoop in, kind of as this parental figure in some ways, and just scoop up all these people, right? Scoop up Sam, scoop up a lot of employees if they all actually do decide to resign and move over to Microsoft. This is a great play for them, um, to kind of make light of a bad situation that OpenAI got themselves into. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, sure, if I were to go into the more speculative side, this is an amazing way to get a uh OpenAI, essentially get OpenAI without having to spend any real money, right?
Sure.
You're not having to do a full corporate takeover. You could just let it self-destruct, right? Let it
Yeah.
self-destruct and scoop up all of the people that you really want um on that uh on that um on that in that company, and then now you essentially have all of the proprietary, all of the knowledge, all of the research and development, all of that now in house,
Yeah.
um for a fraction of the price.
Yeah. Which, is really where my concern from this comes from, as far as, what's interesting of this on the outside looking in, because if all those people were to leave from OpenAI and to join Microsoft, or even if half of them did, right?
Mhm.
You could pretty much say goodbye OpenAI. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, especially with all those leaders stepping down or getting fired, or not lasting as CEO after being named as such.
Mhm.
And with the development and integration of ChatGPT um, software being so large already with Microsoft, they're kind of putting themselves in a position where they could manage and be the leaders of this kind of stuff. And
Yeah. Yeah.
what's interesting about this too is we talked about this a couple weeks ago, where Chat GPT was blamed for a wild AI crash that Microsoft had while they were developing new AI service. And then we find out the next day, or I'm sorry, the next week, when we had our last episode, of
Mhm.
what the Microsoft um, AI services they would offer, right?
Yep.
And this was built in step with OpenAI technology and software.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, Darren in the comments here, he says, "Sorry, I don't know much about AI, but which platform is in lead as far as AI programs?" It's definitely ChatGPT,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
without doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, with the close second being the Bing AI, which has now been rebranded as Copilot. And then after that, it would be Google's AI, which is Bard.
yeah. But also to your point, Bing AI is ChatGPT,
Yep.
but sued for the internet.
Yep.
Um, and it was the quickest thing ever to 100,000 users, right?
Uh,
ChatGPT
yes,
was. Yeah.
it was. It was. Other than Threads technically beat it. Um,
Yeah, that was
but
weird. I
yeah,
say
but
I
that was a
say that.
little different.
No, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that was a little different because Threads was really and truly just bringing over existing users
Yeah.
from another platform. So,
Yes, and I meant to say 100 million, right? Not 100,000.
oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for both. But with you're right because Threads, man, looking at it now, no one even uses that app anymore.
yeah,
Which is,
exactly.
but according to the latest available data of this month, ChatGPT currently has 180 million users. So
That's kind of crazy.
yeah, it's pretty substantial. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, so that's a big one, and I don't really know. Of course, like I mentioned off the top here, we want to keep running through these processes or these topics as well. But still, that's going to be an interesting one to watch and stay on top of. But I do think that, in my opinion, and I hate to say this stuff because I do like Microsoft. I like the company. I like what they've done for work and computing ever since I was a kid.
Yeah,
Um, but I can not lie and say that this doesn't come off as seems like it's a subtle plan to take over the whole technology for themselves. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I can see that. I can see that. It's a great way for Microsoft essentially become the leader in AI research and development. Um, and in some ways, depending on how things go, setting themselves up to get a monopoly in that space. Um,
Yeah.
because that is one thing to think about too. Like, just let's just say, I'm sure we're far off from this happening. But um, because there is this weird relationship that OpenAI um and Microsoft still have, even though this whole blow up happened.
Right.
Um, I wouldn't be too surprised of there becoming some weird issues when it comes to like APIs that are out there that people
Mm.
can use for OpenAI. Like if they start having like financial issues and they have to shut down, how
Sure.
that would work, right? And how Microsoft would try to integrate that into their stuff. So, and then who knows, there may be a Microsoft loves creating licenses and subscriptions and all sorts of other things. And so I could see something similar or like a model like that. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, I
You
think
think that's what it
is
is for the
interesting.
money making idea?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it. I mean, think about it, right? If you can migrate all of the users that are already using ChatGPT fully over to Copilot. Um, Not saying that Copilot is bad. I think the problem is that Copilot is still being shadowed or is still in the shadow of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Um, Even though they're using the exact same thing, that was the whole purpose of Microsoft really saying like, oh, um, being AI at the time, like I said, now it's branded as Copilot, but being AI at the time saying, oh, it's using ChatGPT 4, like, that's a big deal. Where on if you're using ChatGPT, you're just using, 3.5 until they allowed you to pay for ChatGPT 4. So I think a lot of that was trying to pull from the market share that OpenAI had already built up. Um, so I really could see this kind of becoming a move where Microsoft, swoops in, grabs all their people, and then um, can better market to people and say, hey, if you really want the best AI, come to over to us, start migrating some of those users that are already in OpenAI Now you've got a huge new um uh amount of revenue that's just coming in.
Right. Well, and that, you know, I think with Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, you know, their goal of how they're trying to serve with AI services are different, right?
Mhm.
Because the thing about Chat GPT is that it can answer and do so many things, right? Even just the
Mhm.
fact that if I remember right, it's taught itself um, with 12,000 different scientific research papers, right?
Yep.
And that's amazing. That makes it very versatile and very informative. And this is a thing I will say in favor of tech like ChatGPT, um, is the fact that it's not something that I would hop on and be like, hey, how would I upgrade these lyrics to make a song more popular, right?
Mhm.
I wouldn't do that. But what I would do is say, ask more of the higher brain questions, whether it is scientific, whether it's medical, those type of things, because it will
Mhm.
go through that information and make it understandable. I think that to me, and this is based off of my experience,
Mhm.
but I think that is what makes ChatGPT so special, not a conversational version of Google. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
No, you're right.
mhm, mhm. So, and with that said, too, I do like Bard, which I guess you could say is a conversation version of Google. Um,
Yeah.
but it is something that the focus of it is different. The purpose of it is different.
Yep.
Uh, and it can help you what you would need on the internet a lot more effectively. But yeah, again, I think Bard is, or I'm sorry, I think Chat GPT is so impactful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
uh,
No, I'm right there with you.
yeah, yeah. So I hate to see this going on with this drama, and it seems very unsettled. I think I would like to see Chat GPT, if there, again, this is us assuming that there is some subtle push for Microsoft to take it over.
Mhm.
Uh, but I would like to see OpenAI stay its own course, um, with the leadership it's had, um, and continue to develop and benefit everyone, not just Microsoft, right?
Yeah. Exactly. No, I'm with you. Um One other thing I wanted to note too, just to kind of also give a little bit more scale of why this is such a big deal of Altman, Sam Altman, not being in OpenAI, is that the other co-founder or another one of the co-founders of OpenAI also left. Um,
Yes. He got
uh,
pushed out. Same thing,
well, he
right?
didn't get pushed out. He quit in
Okay.
solidarity, in solidarity for Altman, because he was apparently, from what was, there were some leaked documents, but apparently it seemed to be um a very just quick
Mm.
experience. Like, there wasn't, it didn't sound like he had a lot of information at first. Like, while it sounded like essentially like they told him, hey, come into this meeting, and boom, you're fired essentially.
God. Okay.
So it
Yeah.
wasn't, there was so I think that was the other reason why Greg, was it Bachman, left.
Yes. Yeah.
um is I think that's another reason why he left, is because he didn't really enjoy that type of an ousting, because that's just kind of bizarre and a little
Well, it
crazy,
is.
honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you know what, too? Now, granted, we don't know these people. Um, and with the tech, we only know what happens on our end of things, right?
Mhm.
Uh, So I can't fully, say these people are good people because we don't know. But what I would say is it does seem like they are genuinely passionate about what they were doing, right?
Mhm.
And to the point where they didn't want anything to be impacted with their work.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that that is kind of one of the big things that you've seen with this. The It is odd that so many people would be convinced to follow and go to Microsoft because of this, right?
Mhm.
But for 700 people to be working on this technology and other related technologies, they seem, and with how consumer friendly and beneficial it has been, that to me kind of gives the result, if you will, that these people are passionate and confident and want the best to come out from this technology. That's just my opinion. Could be completely wrong because we don't know, you know.
Yeah.
But that is how it appears anyway. So, it's been good. I'm glad we jumped in on this one. Let's move
Mhm.
on to that second topic, which is Meta's the mind reading AI. Right. So
Yeah.
here's the thing. So, um, it's an AI brain computer interface technology. Very interesting. Now, this is in partnership with the University of Texas, um, and scientists that are there, which is cool. Um, us having talked about Meta, it does kind of concern me that they're involved, wanting to be involved with this.
Mhm.
But they claim to have developed a system that can scan a human brain and replicate the images a person is thinking about, um, using what's called magnetoencephalography. It's a very big word. Uh, mag magnetoencephalography, I think is how, or philography, sorry, or
Philography, man.
yeah, or Meg for short. So Meg 3 will be about this technology, and AI. While the technology is just getting started, its potential applications for those with neurological issues are immense. But of course, there's some ethical and privacy concerns as well. Um, let's jump into that a little bit more. What would you say are the benefits of this technology? How are they working with UT on this as well?
Um, so and for clarification, I think it's actually um it's kind of like a twofer. Um, the
Mm,
University of Texas at Austin also created using AI this decoder technology.
a
Meta's
similar
was
tech.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So the University of Texas at Austin created a decoder to read brainwaves and turn that into text that you can read essentially. So essentially, you're thinking something, it'll say like, boom, this is now you were thinking about purple and it wrote down purple. So bam, purple. Um, it's something
Right.
similar to that, right? Where
Right.
metas is more theirs is interesting because it's um it's not just that it's reading the brain waves, but in this case, in the experiment that they did, they were showing a person while they were in the machine pictures, right? And it was Meta's AI essentially, well, AI decoder type deal thing was able to read those brain waves, those live interpreted brain waves, and say, okay, this is a picture. This is what that picture is. So think of like Dolly and ChatGPT kind of working together really quickly, right?
Sure.
Because this is all happening live. I think that was kind of the bigger part with Metas is that it was a live translation. So if someone saw a plane, it would essentially replicate. It would say like, well, this would looks like a plane, so plane. Um,
Right.
and it could replicate it almost identically without
Okay.
actually knowing the image sets. in this training data, right? So that's the biggest
Mhm.
thing. Because yeah, sure, you could say, well, is the potential to these are the set of images that it has the potential to actually see. Um
Mhm.
and out of what these brain waves are, you can do that, but it didn't have any of that. It was just essentially on the fly, just reading it and going through there.
Mm.
So that's what's kind of really, really interesting about this, is that you have one side from the University of Texas at Austin's side, which is just decoding brain waves and saying, and kind of essentially reading out thoughts. And then you have another side, which is reading out images, which is a whole nother ball game, right?
Sure.
One
Definitely.
also was doing it in live time, where one was more along the lines of studying brain waves over time and saying, cool. They're also using
Meta was doing it live, sorry. Was it Meta?
Yeah, Meta was doing it
Okay,
live.
gotcha.
The interesting part about, if I'm not mistaken, the Meta's one is that it was using the way that they had it created, is that it was essentially a neural network, right? Using a neural network to copy essentially brain waves, right? Because the neural networks, the way that those are kind of designed, is it's a way to try to copy or replicate the human brain.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
and so it was in their model, they have it to where it's using these neural networks to be able to decipher what actual brain waves are doing, to essentially mimic what a brain is doing, and saying, well, okay, so if I'm doing this and this brain is doing this, we're similar ish. So that means we're probably thinking the same thing. And here's what we're seeing.
Mhm.
That's kind of how metas worked. Um, and so again, two different technologies, but they're using similar patterns. The one at University of Texas at Austin, what's really interesting about that is that they were using ChatGPT, or not even ChatGPT, but GPT-1, which is the
Yes.
based earliest version of the GPT models that we know today, which we're at ChatGPT, or we're at GPT-4 now. Um,
Mhm.
so it's a very big it's pretty crazy how far they were able to get with using such an older version, and it makes you wonder where they can get to if they were to, say, use GPT-4 um, for this
Right.
same process.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point too. If it were more advanced, what would that look like? Of course, they're using just the most basic version to kind of build what the technology would be like, right?
Correct.
But with that said, which I have a follow-up question to this,
Mhm.
but what were the biggest goals of UT's um well, really both. What were the biggest goals of their interactions?
Mhm.
Why were they using this? We kind of mentioned earlier how some of this technology could be used to help people who have mental issues, whether it was something unfortunately they were born with or what have you,
Mhm.
um, use this interaction. But I'd be interested to know how that is, and then of course what other goals there are by them making this and testing these technologies.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think what you said is true. Of course, um, people who have mental issues or mental blocks or something similar to that, there's a potential of essentially being able to read someone's brainwaves live, and then being able to spit that out onto, I don't know, a text to speech something, and then essentially that person can speak through their um their thoughts, or speak, you know outside or whatever like that. Give them ability to speak again without having to actually, like, I don't know, help without some of the other stuff. So there's that possibility. But I think one of the biggest things for both of these is just a better way to understand how the brain works.
Yeah.
Um, I think that is probably one of the biggest points of this type of research, is to better understand how the brain works. Um, because if we understand that, we can create not just um, a way of, I don't know, telepathy. I don't think we'll ever get to that point because both of these methods were um passive essentially, right? So
Sure.
there weren't ones where, you had an electrode, stick directly into your brain and saying like, "All right, now we've got it." These were, taking scans, right? Someone was in an MRI machine or something similar to that. And then another person was, well, another one it was a past MRI machine and they were grabbing the brain the information and then feeding it in that way. So it's a little bit different, but I could see it being a big help in research of like how we communicate and how our thoughts are created and all sorts of
Right.
other stuff like that. And also maybe even creating ways to, if there are mental illness blocks, to see how those brains compare and see if maybe it's something wrong with these networks that and maybe try to figure out what can be fixed and how you can kind of like go around that, right?
Sure.
Um, Creating, like I was talking about with Metas, since they created kind of like a mimic or semi brain or whatever like that, neural network brain, there's a higher probability of being able to use this information to create more realistic versions of brains, essentially
Yeah.
virtual brains that AIs can utilize and be able to develop a lot faster too. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that can come out of this research.
Without a doubt. And I definitely get where you're coming from too. I will say, and I want to know if you agree with me on this. Um, with UT being a part of this and using this technology, I could see how that would because before I say what I'm about to say,
Hmm.
the average knowledge of the human brain um, is so small compared to what we understand the human brain being capable of doing, right?
Hmm.
There's so many different things that even people don't know. And I'm saying scientists as to what functions the brain to act this way, right? And those type of things. And so I could see how integration at a place like UT would benefit that knowledge, which would lead to, um, treatment options or just scientific understanding and how we could grow our own brain and that kind of a thing, right?
Yep.
Whereas with Meta, I'm not a hater. I know we're live streaming on Facebook right now. You know what I mean? But with that, it does concern me um, that Meta, a company that is based on consumership,
Hmm.
is trying to learn more about the brain, right?
Yeah.
And they have an artificial world that you can put, your headphones on and interact with. But then you watch a movie like Ready Player One, right?
Hmm.
And then Meta's studying the brain. They're trying to build that AI across the board. It really just I hate to kind of jump on a ledge, but I do want to know what your thoughts are. Um, what I mean is I hate to kind of be bold with this opinion, this level of bold,
Hmm.
but it does seem like it could be a effort on their end to expand their AI technology to where it's fully integrating. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think that that is a possibility. Um, I also wouldn't be surprised too if, pardon me, sorry.
Hey,
Um,
you're over me, man.
I also wouldn't be too surprised if, and maybe this is a longer term thing, but just thinking about the thinking about being able to use this brain activity to, as well as the personalized, or not personalized, but the star fake star influencer things that they're creating, which are AIs, um
Right.
utilizing both of these together, I could easily see something as a way to, again, like we talked about at that previous episode,
Yeah.
which was a way to create a more full version of what a person is, right? Of what this customer is. And so
Mhm.
being able to sell who that person is to an advertiser becomes insanely lucrative. So,
Yeah.
sure. And on the high end spectrum, I could easily see something similar to that happening. Now, do I think that's a little far fetched? Yes, but I can easily see that I can connect the dots to say that may be a possibility of what their end goal could be, right?
Sure.
Because Meta has never really been a great company when it came to our privacy, right?
Right.
They're not afraid to sell our data at all.
They're they're not. They're not, and that goes back to something we've talked about multiple times. TikTok became a problem for the government because it's from China,
Mhm.
but equally privacy invading is Meta,
Yep.
if not even more so. So that's an interesting take that you have on that. Again, Meta, please let us do well with this live stream. We love you. Thank you for everything that you do.
Yeah, please
Uh,
don't suppress us.
but with that said, too, I want to know your thoughts on what you were mentioning. If they began to use this like ChatGPT 4, right? For
Mhm.
example,
Yep.
the most the most consumer advanced available version of ChatGPT. And by they I'm mainly meaning University of Texas,
Mhm.
but with those with the research and with the investment in that, what would be the goal of using the more advanced ChatGPT um, in a situation like this? What do you think their goal is for that?
Um, I think in this kind of scenario, I think if you could get it to where you have these, this higher version of ChatGPT being able to interpret, not just because we already know how good ChatGPT is in general at just analyzing texts, right? When we feed in prompts of our own that we create, as well as prompts of articles and stuff like that, ChatGPT is able to usually read it and do a pretty decent job when it comes to summarizing it, or anything like that. Um,
Sure.
Now, again, I have to always iterate this, that ChatGPT is a transformer model of AI. And what that does is, the biggest thing about it is that its core functionality is akin to guessing.
Right.
Guessing what the next word or sequence of words needs to be to form whatever, right?
Hmm.
That's
Sure.
the biggest thing. And in short, some ways you could say that that's kind of what we already are doing, but it's a lot more nuanced than that. But that is what it is being used, or that is what it's doing. So going back to what I was trying to say is, I could see it as the University of Austin being able to, one, be able to, at a much higher degree, decode someone's brainwaves into, full text that makes sense, but not just that, but also images as well. Being able to ingest those images that someone is looking at these brainwaves and saying, okay, maybe this isn't a word per se, but this is an image. And so now let's add more context to what an image would look like. And again, these are things that can be used for medical, they can be used for other advancements, when it comes to, I don't know, AR, how AR works interacts with our brain. It can do a
Sure.
lot of stuff. I could even see it as a way of diagnosing people with certain brain disorders or something similar to that. I guess I should really say like mental illnesses and stuff like that, um, without actually having to, um, I don't know, go through so many tests or whatever like that. So there's the possibilities endless. I think really they're going to push it to a lot of these technologies to as much as to the highest degree to get a better idea of what they want to do.
Well, I agree, and I hear what you're saying too, because one thing that I do think would be beneficial is using a more advanced, again, ChatGPT 4, for example,
Hmm.
I think would be beneficial in a way of not like the movie Upgrade or what have you, where an AI is trying to converse with you in your brain and take it over. Um, but rather using the foundation to analyze um, just how the brain works.
Yep.
Um, because again, there's so much unknown. If I'm not mistaken, we really only understand 10 to 15% of how our brain functions, you know?
Hmm.
Um, it might be a little more than that, but I do remember there's a large percentage that isn't known,
Yep.
and isn't fully understood. And so being able to analyze that and understand just for health purposes, right?
Yep. Yep.
Uh, yeah, I think that there's a lot of potential there. Um, actually, you know what? Let me look that up real quick. What
Mm.
is um let me ask ChatGPT for why not?
Yeah, might
What
as well.
is the percentage of our brains function that we understand? It's kind of a weird way to phrase that. We'll see what it says.
Yeah, we'll see how it does.
The exact percentage of our brains function that we understand is subject of debate and ongoing research in the field of neuroscience.
Mm.
Uh, tra- I was right, dude. Traditionally, it's been said that humans use only a small fraction of their brain's potential, often quoted as 10%. However, this is a myth. In reality, we see virtually every part of our brain,
Correct.
and most of the brain is active all the time, for sure. Yeah. So modern neuroscience has shown that the brain is highly complex and an interconnected organ, with each part having a specific function. Functional magnetic resonance imaging and other brain scanning technologies have allowed scientists to observe brain activity and have shown that even simple tasks require the coordination of multiple areas of the brain. However, understanding how the brain functions in its entirety is still a significant challenge. Estimates of how much we understand about the brain vary widely, VARY.
Mhm.
Uh, there are many, and it's difficult to quantify this understanding in a precise percentage. There are many aspects of brain functions, such as the exact mechanisms of consciousness, memory, and the intricate workings of neurotransmitters that are not fully understood. So I think the latter, especially, would be where the research kind of funnels the most, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
Uh,
yeah, I think that's good information.
yeah, no, I think so, I think so. Imagine with me that, um, in the far future, or maybe not, no, not too distant future, we're able to use this technology, when it's matured to to a high amount, to be able to remember our dreams. Wouldn't that be kind of neat? You
Right.
know? You put, like, a headset on your head and you sleep, and then you wake up, and then you get, like, a playback of your dream.
That'd be weird.
It'd be pretty neat, though. I mean,
If
they
you
could
if
do.
you're into that, I'm not, I don't like living that way, bro. I'm not against dreaming, reliving dreams kind of freaks me out.
I
Um,
mean, you just get to see it. It'd be like a YouTube video,
yeah, it's true. I'd be
like a
down to
YouTube video of your brain,
yeah, I'd be
or
down
of your dream.
stream live on YouTube with that for sure.
Yeah.
Um, no, I'm not against dreams or anything like that. I just think the idea of rewatching it would kind of be weird to me.
Yeah.
but I'm not against the thought. I totally get what you're saying. Brooke, also thank you for jumping in the comments. We love you being on the stream with us, and thank you
Mm-hmm.
uh, as well. But yeah, so that's a that's an interesting one. But that gives, I think, a lot of good information um, on this. And honestly, man, I say we slam into this last one real quick. What do you think?
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, we can run through this one. This one's a little bit quicker.
It
Um,
is.
I can take it away on this one.
Yeah, lay it out.
Um, so Apple, right, in a move that shocked everyone, um, Apple is going to open up RCS, which is rich. What is it? What does it stand for? It's rich something text or something similar to that. It's essentially a much more encrypted version of a regular standard text message. It's something that most phones, most Android phones have moved over to.
Yeah,
Um,
it's rich communication services. That's what
Thank
RCS is
you. I
for.
knew it was rich something. There we
It's
go.
rich. Gotta be
Um,
buying an iPhone, man.
yeah. But so beforehand, right? Um, Let me set the scene here, right?
Uh-huh.
In the United States, because I have to preface it by in the United States, because this is completely different around the world.
Sure. I get that.
In the United States, in the United States, majority of people will use who if they have a iPhone, they use the default, not even just an iPhone, it's really in general most phones. They're going to use the default messaging app that is on their phone.
Mhm.
So for iPhone users, that's iMessage, which most iPhone users don't understand that technically the way that iMessage is just a glorified web client because essentially all of your text and all that other good stuff is up in the cloud and then it's just reading that data off of a server essentially. That's the
Sure.
reason why you can do certain things that are a little bit different, right? But the nice thing about iMessage is that you get it encrypted messaging, you get higher quality videos and higher quality, gosh darn, images and stuff like that, right?
Sure.
All sent out. And then, of course, there's other kind of cool things that you can do, like stickers and all sorts of other cool stuff like that, right? Um, that you can do inside of iMessage. Apple has done a great job of being able to integrate that and make it feel like something that you really just can't live without. Um, so on the other side of the spectrum, oh, and I guess I should also preface it by saying whenever you are texting another iPhone user who is also using iMessage, they will
Right.
send off a uh, blue bubble, right? You get a blue bubble. That's this whole, and then of course, when you are an
Well,
iPhone user, and you are texting someone who is using an Android phone, um,
mhm,
that text message becomes a SMS, which is just a regular old, plain old
a
text
green
message.
text, which you
Yes,
then ban
y-
the other person because it's
you.
green.
Yes, you get a green bubble. Exactly. Yes, you must shame them for having a green bubble because
Yes,
it
you must.
messes with all of your fun Apple stuff.
This is why
Um,
I only talk on the phone.
um, but anyway, so moving over to the Android side,
Sure.
on the Android side, right, for years they have been using just regular old SMS, which is like I said, your regular old regular, no encryption, just plain text being sent over um, cellular data. Um, well, a few years ago, Google invested a lot of money in creating, not in creating, but co-working with like another service or whatever like that, to create RCS, which is that rich communication service, right? That adds in a lot of cool functionality that a lot of the iPhone users are getting in their iMessage. So that is higher quality video, higher quality photos, encrypted messages, as well as those typing indicators, which are cool, right? And a couple of other things that get sent through and that kind of work a little bit better. So they started to implement that into most of their Android phones. And Google has been pushing for years at this point to try to get Apple to just add that standard in. Because what that will do is now you have this ability for both iPhone and Android users to be able to send encrypted messages, to have those typing indicators as you can normally get, also those read received kind of deals that you normally get to on iMessage and stuff like that, as well as RCS whenever you're talking with someone else who also has RCS.
Mhm.
Um, you get an opportunity to be able to send better videos, all sorts of other stuff. So Google has been hounding Apple to truly push this as much as possible, because it's a better experience, not just for their users, but for all users, right? Um,
Sure.
no more green bubble versus blue bubble.
Which is
Um,
interesting. Yeah. Mm.
and so Apple announced a few days ago that they are opening this up. They're going to add um, RCS to iMessage in 2024. So then that way everybody gets the blue bubble goodness, but it's probably not going to be true. Honestly, they're probably either going to keep it green just because they want to, again, it's another thing that Apple can use to keep people in their walled garden. Um, but maybe it'll stay green or maybe it'll change to a different color. But um, big thing about it is just that we are now moving on to a better standard, and it should make messaging people um, a lot better. Again, this is a United States problem because in other countries, they actually use, most countries use like WhatsApp to
Right.
communicate.
Which is weird, but that's a whole other conversation.
It's only weird to us. For them, they're just like, well, why would I use the default messaging client? I can use WhatsApp, which communicates perfectly, work, which is really good communication across the board, right? You don't have any weird incompatibility issues. And it's
Sure.
encrypted, and you get high resolution photos, and you get read write receipts. You get all the cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I get that sympathy on that for sure. I just feel like it gets weird with um how well, at least the way they promote it to us is how hidden ever all the messages can be. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Um, yeah, for like how WhatsApp can be, or at least it was. I know that. I don't know if it's quite to that level now, but you could message people without sharing who you are, right?
mm,
Am I
not
thinking of that?
really. No, I mean, you have to have a phone number and all sorts of other stuff like that.
Okay.
Um, Maybe certain parts of it, but I mean, WhatsApp was supposed to always be one of the biggest things is that's nice about it is that it's great for international travel, because it doesn't require that cellular service. It just requires like Wi-Fi or something similar to that.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to think of what I was. I don't know if it was an early version of that or if I'm just misremembering that. I very much could be. Um, oh, you know what? I bet it's Telegram.
Yeah, that might have been what you were thinking of.
Yeah, I think so. And Telegram was trying to present itself as a competitor to WhatsApp. So that's probably why I thought.
Mhm.
But yeah, so regardless of that, and all that stuff, I do think it's interesting because this integration, right, would
Mhm.
be just for Google, like Google Pixel kind of phones, for example.
No, no. At this point, most Android manufacturers have added um, the Google messaging application which is one of the big ones that is pushing the RCS. But most Android phones nowadays are actually pushing
Mm,
that messaging client.
sure.
So it doesn't just benefit them. I know like Samsung, they've made that their default messaging app. I believe, of course, Google has, I believe some of
Oh no.
well, so that's kind of surprising. How back? There it is. I should be
Yeah,
back now. Yep.
you are back,
Yep.
and we got the
Um,
audio, so it's all
yeah,
good.
I got some weird uh stuff going on. But anyway, um yeah, most Android phones now have moved over um to a messenger that has RCS on it.
Okay. Well, I think that's interesting, and I will say too, as someone who, within the last few days, upgraded my laptop to
Mhm.
Windows 11.
Mhm.
Um, Again, this is my personal laptop, and I found that Microsoft has an app called Phone Link, where
Yep.
you can link your Android or you can link your iPhone.
Yep.
I'm a better, I will admit this, it's situational, but I am a better text messenger a lot of times as far as typing it out on a keyboard rather than hold my phone and go like this, right?
Mhm.
Uh, I'm just more of a consistent replier through that. With that said, if I open the app right now, it won't show any of my messages. In fact, it gives me a random list of suggested contacts. Um,
Strange.
yeah, yeah. So, with that said, if I were to create new message and then message you, I mean, I could pick right up where we had left off last, not a problem. But it won't show me anything until you reply. And only then does it start building a thread, right?
Mm. Mhm.
But that only lasts until I reset the computer or I shut the app off, right?
Mhm.
And then you have to start from square one again. So I have a dozen unread text messages right now. I apologize. I
No
apologize
worries.
to all involved. But it won't show me any of them on that app. So I do wonder, I hope for them that that means they'll integrate with other apps like that. Obviously, that one's more self serving me, but I just wonder how big of a growth we would see from this technology being integrated and how much it would integrate with other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it'll be interesting as well. Um, it is strange that you're getting that. I honestly have not had that issue with me doing it on my computer because I've done it a couple times.
Have you
I have.
used the phone link app?
It works great.
It
Yeah,
does,
I
and
see it.
but you do it with your Android phone, right?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Must be an
Sorry, I didn't mean to
iPhone
cut
thing.
you off either, but I do imagine that that is completely different. You know, what I mean, because even I'll give you this example right now.
Mhm.
It doesn't show those messages unless I just started typing one, and it says your recent messages will appear here. This is from messages, obviously, and it gives me every other notification on the side too that I could just look at but not interact with.
Mhm.
And then if I went from which being like like Facebook, YouTube, Upwork, all that kind of stuff. But then if I hit calls, it says we cannot connect your device. Please reset phone link,
Hmm.
which would just remove my device and I'd have to reconnect it, which
That
is
is interesting.
yeah, and it's not factual because it reconnects every time I shut and turn the app back on. So
Mhm.
it's not the best integration. It does make me wonder if that kind of stuff will improve for people as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, hopefully it does. Hopefully it does.
Yeah,
Um, because yeah, that's sort of strange.
it is. I'm glad it's free, but or at least it's free coming with Windows 11. But uh, and if I remember right, too, that app was already available on Windows 10, if I remember right.
Correct.
But I
Correct.
couldn't
I'm
connect.
currently using it on Windows 10.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, but it wouldn't connect iPhone unless it was the Windows 11 version.
Correct.
So all these people are moving this technology more integrated with iPhone, even just as simple as something we talked a little while back about the new iPhones charged with USB Cs now, right?
Mhm.
Uh, I think this is a national and an international level to make it more like the other phones as far as those things that block it from being used by other technology, right?
Yes, and I do wanna also say this is that Apple didn't do this on purpose. They didn't if it was up to Apple, they wouldn't have done this.
Sure.
They were forced to do this by an EU regulation that essentially a EU bill or whatever like that that passed that requires this essentially thing. And
For
so
USB-C, right?
yes, USB-C and RCS.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was the latter as well.
Yes,
Wow.
exactly, exactly. Apple is not someone to integrate any of this. Again, a lot of this stuff is to make it easier for all users to be able to communicate on devices and stuff like that. Um, Not just for one, manufacturer to have a monopoly on certain things. Um, so that is something um that I wanted to pop out there because I think some people would read it and say like, "Oh man, Apple's really doing a good job," but um, it's more of a regulation thing that they're being forced to do this.
Sure. That's interesting. And it's wild it took this long for it to start transpiring, but um as someone who was always has been team iPhone, I'm not in the way of yeah, make it your own thing and everybody else has to adjust accordingly. No. Make it integrate with stuff like that just like all other related technology does. I
Mm,
completely agree. So,
mm-hmm.
well, look, we touched on a lot. It is a late night.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think we covered a lot and it was great. And thank you guys for jumping on the live stream as well. Thank you for watching with us. Thank you for having the comments as well. This is what we do every single week. Um, and of course, this one we knocked out early, but also went late because it is Thanksgiving week. Um, and I just want to say too, even though the audio version of this goes live on technically Cyber Monday, if
Mm-hmm.
you if you're looking for something to buy on Cyber Monday, hit the link. We got some really cool merch that you can check out, and we
We
think
sure.
you're yeah, we think you're gonna love it. So, with that said, though, just real quick, man, what would you say that you're thankful for? What's the one thing you would mention?
Mm. I think just family and friends. Honestly, I think
Yep.
that is probably one of the biggest things I felt more this year that I've been really thankful for.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because for those who don't know us personally, it's thought presses like those that make us literally the same person, just brothers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because I have the exact same feeling and very thankful for those who surround us and care for us genuinely. But not just that. I'm very thankful for you, bro, because you are among the pinnacle of that and very, very thankful. So,
Oh, thank you, bro. And I'm incredibly thankful for you, man. Like, um, yeah, this year's been crazy, and I don't know what I would do without you, bro.
well, thank you. And the
Mm-hmm.
feeling is absolutely mutual. And with all of that, too, we're thankful for all of you listeners and watchers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for being a part of this podcast in some capacity all the time. And thank you for jumping on, whether it's a live stream or whether it's the audio. We really, really appreciate it. And just to be able to do this and grow this and have fun doing it, it's an awesome blessing. So thank you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you for what, 4 years of
5.
support? 5 years. Sorry, I'm off. I'm off.
Yeah.
5 years of support. Um, you know, it's been a long journey. It's been
Yes.
great and it's super fun. We're continuously, trying to innovate and you know, thank you for being along for the ride. It's been great and we hope to
Yes.
continue
And I
to.
think, yeah, absolutely. And we will. And I think we have some really exciting things that are around the corner with that as well.
Mhm.
Which, of course, once they start developing, we'll be sure to talk more and more about. So,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for watching. Have a happy Thanksgiving. If you're listening on the audio, have a happy weekend of shopping. And we'll catch up with you guys next week.